today's lesson is, or today's word is going to be in the book of Nehemiah. And you can just go there to chapter 1. You can go to Nehemiah number 2. You can go to 2. You can go to 2. Yeah. All right. So, there's going to be a time in your life when God is going to call you to do something and build something, and you're going to be intimidated because you're going to think, this is way too big for me and I'm too small for what you're calling me to do. I don't have the education for what you want me to do. I don't have the personality for what you want me to do. I don't really have anything you're supposed to have or to do what you want me to do, what you want me to build. I don't have those things, and it becomes intimidating. And one of the things that make it intimidating is you are so focused on the big picture and what you want it to look like that you forget the small details. So you look at, man, I want it to be this big, or I want it to look like this. But you don't realize just how much time it actually takes to get to that point. And when you become so focused, you do got to look at the big picture. But when you become so, it consumes you just looking at the big picture, you forget to pay attention to the small details that it takes to get to that big picture. And instead of looking at it and saying, man, this is too much for me, this is too big, I can't do this, you have to look at, Lord, where do I start? Because everything begins with what? A start. I need to start somewhere. I remember there's a couple times where I was installing carpets in houses, and some of these houses were so trashed, and we would have to clean up all that old carpet and stuff. Some big houses too. And you know, you look at it and you're just like, we gotta do what? We gotta clean all this up. And by the end of the day, like that's what they're expecting. It's like, yeah, clean it all up. And then you just stare at it, and you just stare at it, and then that Spanish guy comes and says, yeah, if you keep looking at it, ain't nothing gonna happen, which is what happened to me, but he said in Spanish. I'm like, yeah, you're right. And I think that's what happens with us, is we get stuck sometimes and we look and how much needs to be done, and we get a little intimidated by it, and we just keep staring at it, like, just thinking about everything that needs to be done, so you never start. Because you're like, man, I got so much to do, I don't even know where to start. You gotta start somewhere. And Nehemiah, God was calling him to build the wall around Jerusalem again because it was knocked down. So he's like, I want you to go there and you're going to build up the wall again because it's been knocked down and I want you to do it. No one else. So Nehemiah's like, okay, I'm going to go start this thing. And you start with what? One brick at a time. So when that situation comes, that circumstance comes, oh, where to start? Just one brick at a time. That's it. One step at a time, and you'll see how every day and every hour and every minute it just progresses you and pushes you forward by just one brick at a time. It might be slow, it might be, or it might be fast, but it's on God's timing, it's on God's pace. So what do? You prepare. I'm laying my bricks, I'm laying my bricks, I'm laying my bricks. For when something tries to come, it's already built. It's already being built. But I'm not going to stop laying my bricks because I'm not where I want to be. Because people get discouraged. They're like, I'm done. I stopped here, I'm done. They're like, you know, you met those people. Yeah, I started it, but I just stopped. I just quit. Oh, why? It was just too hard, or it was just too good. Okay, they're never going to know. Those are the ones that they started but didn't finish. And the Lord, and he talks about that, where the man who doesn't count first before he builds or starts, they're not going to finish. And everybody's going to make fun of you for starting something that you couldn't finish. And I'm not talking about like, look, straight up, it just wasn't for me, so I was just done. I'm talking about the opposition came to you and you just quit because of the opposition. You let the opposition overcome you and overcome your bricks that you were laying down, and you just let them come in and just throw away everything that you just started to build. God didn't do that, you did that, right? So we're going to go to Jeremiah 25. Actually, you guys can stay on the Maya. I'll read Jeremiah. You guys are good. So here, when God calls Nehemiah, all right, to build this wall that King Nebuchadnezzar came and destroyed, all right, he destroyed this wall around Jerusalem, he destroyed the temple, he destroyed all this stuff, all right. And so the Israelites that were living there, they were going to be exiled now for 70 years under the rule of Babylon, all right. So God was pretty much like, you guys don't want to listen to me, you don't want to do what I said, you don't want to do anything that I'm telling you to do, I'm destroying this place. I don't even care it's my temple. Yeah, it's my place where you worship. I don't care about that. Done. The wall, done. All right? And that's where that mindset of religion comes, like, oh, not the temple. And God's like, whoosh. I don't need the temple. It's okay. I don't need this wall either. If you guys are going to come in this temple and just defile my name, I will get rid of it. I don't need that. So he came, he destroyed all that and exiled all the Israelites to Babylon. So when we go to, I'm going to read Jeremiah 25, starting at number 8. And it reads, "Therefore, this is what the Lord of hosts says. Because you have not obeyed my words, I am going to send for all the families of the north." This is the Lord's declaration. "And send for my servant Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, and I will bring them against this land, against its residents, and against all these surrounding nations. And I will completely destroy them and make them a desolation, a derision, and ruins forever. I will eliminate the sound of joy and gladness from them, and the voice of the groom and the bride, the sounds of millstones, and the light of the lamp. The whole land will become a desolate ruin, and these nations will serve the king of Babylon for 70 years. When the 70 years are completed, I will punish the king of Babylon and that nation." This is the Lord's declaration. So, Jeremiah is telling the king right now of Israel what's going to happen. This is what's going to happen. We're past, like, you can fix it. Like, no, there ain't no fixing this. God, I made up my mind. This is what's going to happen. I'm kicking you guys out. You're done. You're going to be under exile for 70 years. And then you can come back. And what I loved about this verse is, when he says, King Nebuchadnezzar, "I will send for my servant King Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon." This guy was not a Christian. He did not serve the Lord. But God called him his servant. And it's interesting how God will use certain people to do something in your life, whether they believe in Christ or not, for his purpose. So those that think like, oh, I'm an atheist, oh, I don't believe or whatever, you're still kind of functioning under God's purpose for my purpose, for somebody else's purpose, whether you know it or not. And this was King Nebuchadnezzar. Again, he wasn't a Christian, didn't serve the Lord, and God is saying, I'm going to use him to destroy you guys. I'm going to use him for your purpose. So yes, I'm calling him my servant in that aspect for what he is going to do. And sometimes God is going to use people to destroy certain aspects of your life. Because if he doesn't do it that way, you are never going to change. If he doesn't take you out of there, if he doesn't take you out of where you are and totally destroys where you were living and what you were doing, you would never leave. You would never, ever actually change your ways. And you're probably saying, yeah, I would. God didn't. God bless you. You're welcome. We think, oh, well, if God didn't do that, eventually I would have, changed. Like, no, you wouldn't. We're all different. God works with us in different ways, but sometimes God has to be so harsh. God has to be so just hard on you because you just won't understand any other way. And me, as young, knowing that, I'm like, I really don't want to live the hard way. I have seen the hard way. I don't want to do that, Lord. Here you go. I'll give you my life, little by little, one brick at a time, but I'm here. Okay? My relationship with God started out of fear. I didn't want to go to hell. That was my thing. Oh my God, I don't want to go to hell. I don't want to do that. That's how it started. And it was through fear, though, that eventually I got to know God's love. But it started that way. And eventually, no matter how you start, you still end up getting to God's love eventually. No matter how you start, eventually you're going to get to the point where, wow, I started by fear, or I started by this person invited me and I was in, I didn't care. Eventually you are going to hit and confront God's love. So he was sending Nebuchadnezzar to destroy these people's land, destroy it all. They're all going to be kicked out, and he was using them as his servant to do this for their purpose, for your purpose, because God will do that. But you can always rebuild. When God destroys something, he doesn't destroy it, he also brings hope. Yes, this has been destroyed, this is gone, but you will come back. I will bring you back to this at the appointed time so you can rebuild. Because the way you were going and the foundation that you were laying down, it wasn't going to work. So I had to come and destroy what it was you were building, because it wasn't going to do anything. It wasn't going to last. The rain was going to come and it was just going to wash away. It was not built on the rock. It wasn't built on me. So I got to come and destroy all this before you get too far and experience the consequence of that. And sometimes God actually takes you and says, you know what? I will allow you to know the consequence of your sin, because if you don't, you're going to keep on doing it until you realize the consequence. So I'm going to make you understand the consequence of your sin, and I'm going to let that consequence happen so you can change. So you can see the gravity of what you're doing and how it affects you and other people. I will allow the consequence. And sometimes, I am that consequence. When you take someone to jail or whatever, you are that consequence in that person's life. But you know what? I don't know what's going on in that person's mind later on, where they're like, had I not got arrested or whatever, I would have just kept on going. I would have just kept on doing what I wanted to do until that day, the Lord spoke to me in the psalm, whatever, and I said, this is it, I'm done. I'm not going back to that life, I'm not going to this. But what happened? It had to be destroyed first. Something so drastic had to happen in your life for God to get your attention. Mm-hmm. And these people here, the people in Israel, man, God was like this with them. This is the chosen nation. This is the chosen nation. And these people still, God directly would speak to them, and they're like, let's go worship that cow or something. Oh, okay. I didn't get it. I'm like, such a direct relationship with God, yet they disobeyed him so many times. And at this point, God is like, there's no coming back from this. I'm destroying everything. You guys have to start over. And that's it. And if you're here and you're thinking like, Lord, some of my relationships have been destroyed. My life, my mind, my heart, my finances, God. I feel like I'm in such a deep hole that I just can't get out of. He will rebuild it. He will send you to rebuild what was once lost, especially if it's something important. But he needs to change the foundation that it was being built on. Because the foundation you were building on was a foundation of pride, greed, lust, and he can't have that, because that's not going to stand when the wind comes. That's not going to stand when the fire comes. So he needs to now change it. He has to destroy your path to put you on another one. And you got to build up a new wall, a new foundation, so we could withstand what's going to come. So now we're going to go to Nehemiah. All right, so Nehemiah is one of these people that got exiled, but it was like his ancestors and stuff that had gotten exiled. He was born under exile, all right? He didn't know anything else. He knew what he was being born into. And eventually Nebuchadnezzar got taken over by the Persian army. So Nebuchadnezzar took over, and like what Jeremiah said, after Nebuchadnezzar takes over, I'm going to take someone else and take over him, all right? So here now Nehemiah is serving the Persian king. Okay? Remember that movie 300? Mm-hmm. You probably looked like that. I don't know. Mm-hmm. But Nehemiah was serving this guy. He was the cupbearer for this person. He was, and that is like, you're probably like the third most important person in that aspect. And he's the one that would drink the wine before the Persian king would drink the wine, because we had to make sure it wasn't poison. So he was the one that would test it and be like, it's funny because every time you drink, he's like, I don't know if I'm gonna die right now, but we'll see. Oh, it's good, king, you can drink it. You know, he was the tester. And it was very important. I mean, Nehemiah was with this guy all the time, walking with him everywhere, you know, and all that stuff. So Nehemiah, being born out of exile from where he was over there in Israel, he comes, all right, he's born there, and he's born under that Persian army, that Persian military, and he grows up there. And eventually he hits the point where he becomes the cupbearer. And I think it's interesting how you think the Persian king would pick one of his own Persian people to eventually get there, but no, it was a Jew, it was an Israelite that made it to that level. Because God had a purpose this whole time. Right. He said it within that 70 years, I'm going to have Nehemiah, and I'm going to bring him up into a position to where I send him, and he will be sent. If Nehemiah was not in this position where God put him, he wouldn't be able to do what he was going to eventually call him to do. Okay? So when we look at ourselves, God puts you in positions to do what he's calling you to do. There's nothing that's going to get in the way of what he's calling you to do, because he's going to put you in that position to do it. Because sometimes we go a little crazy because we're like, man, God's calling me, but I feel like I need to get like a new job or something, or I need to go to like a seminary. I just need to devote my... No, God called you exactly where you are. Exactly where you are is where God called you. And before you know it, and whatever he's calling you to do, you're like, wow, I'm in that position to do it. Interesting. And sometimes, though, we do put excuses. Oh, God, my schedule, man, I can't. I'm so busy. You know, I got all this stuff going on. I got this, I got that. I'm really tired. By the time it hits Sunday, like, I can't do this. And the Lord's like, okay, you're giving me excuses? I'm going to sweeten the deal. I'm going to put you in a position where you cannot give me an excuse. I'm going to put you in a position where you can't tell me, oh, I'm this, I'm that, or this. I'm going to put you in a position where you can't tell me you can't do it. Because now at that point, you're in the point where you're going to make him mad. And I'm sure I've made God mad plenty of times. It happens. All right? Don't think we don't get the guy mad. He gets mad. All right? He's probably up there, I don't know if he throws things, I don't know. Alba just won't. Just starts throwing stuff. I don't know, you know. But with God's grace and his mercy, he still is just like, okay, I'm going to let you go. I'm going to let you do what you want to do. But eventually, it's all going to come back to me anyway. I got to say Thanos again. I am inevitable. I had to do it, I'm sorry. So we go to Nehemiah. Number 2, all right? And it reads, I'm sorry, before we get into this. While Nehemiah was there, one of his brothers came to visit him, and Nehemiah asked, hey, how's Jerusalem doing? I heard there's people there now, like what's going on? They're like, we don't have a wall. We don't have any protection, we don't have anything, it's pretty much torn down. We got because Ezra is the one who built the temple before this, but now we don't have protection. We don't have nothing to protect us. And at this time, in this era, if you didn't have anything protecting you, you were getting run over.
That's right. End
of story. If you did not have something in the way of your city, you were going to get besieged. That's just how it was. Okay? So Nehemiah, he gets into prayer and he's like, Lord, this really is bothering me. This is really bothering me, Lord. I really feel like I need to go there and help build this wall, God, and help rebuild the city of Jerusalem, Lord. I really want to do this. And it's funny because it wasn't by accident that Nehemiah just felt this. Because what God wants you to do, he's going to put it in there and it's going to bother you. You're not going to be able to sleep. You're not going to be able to think. Like, it's just always going to be somewhere in your mind. It is going to bother you until you actually act on it. All right? So now we go to Nehemiah 2. I will start reading now. During the month of Nisan in the 20th year of King Artaxerxes, which was the king of Persia, when wine was set before him, I took the wine and gave it to the king. I had never been sad in his presence, so the king said to me, "Why are you sad? When you aren't sick, this is nothing but depression." And I was overwhelmed with fear, because he had no idea how the king was going to respond to what he was about to say. So he's like, well, here I go. And replied to the king, "May the king live forever. Why should I not be sad when the city where my ancestors are buried lies in ruins and its gates have been destroyed by fire?" Then the king asked me, "What is your request?" So I prayed to the God of heaven and answered the king, "If it pleases the king, and if your servant has found favor with you, send me to Judah and the city where my ancestors are buried so that I may rebuild it." The king with the queen sitting beside him asked me, "How long will your journey take, and when will you return?" So I gave him a definite time, and it pleased the king to send me. I also said to the king, "If it pleases the king, let me have letters written to the governors of the region west of the Euphrates River, so that they will grant me safe passage until I reach Judah." The king of Persia was not a Christian. Here we go again. He did not serve the Lord. But since God had a purpose with Nehemiah, he's going to touch that king to say, "You're going to do what I want him to do." God was already putting Nehemiah in the favor of this king. He was, like I said before, he was putting him in that position already since he was born, and he knew this time was going to come. I'm going to put you in that position, that specific position, to do what I'm telling you to do. And I'm going to move the people, and I'm the one who's going to convince the people to do what they have to do so that you can go on, and you can go on and do what you need to do. All right? So he says, "I need you to write letters to all the people that I'm going to travel through to let me in with safe passage. Don't let anybody attack me." Why? Nobody wants to see Jerusalem revived. Okay? To these people, the people living in that area, they still see it as, you took away the land that belonged to us. It wasn't them, it was the Lord who said, "Guys, get out. I'm going to give this to my people." But they didn't see it that way. They're like, "No, you took it away from us." Mm-hmm. So if we see you trying to go over there and do something to rebuild it, we're going to try and kill you. Because right now we are enjoying seeing it suffer, pretty much. We like it. That's what you get for taking away what belonged to us. That was their mindset. That was their attitude. All right? So he says, "The west of Euphrates, so that will grant me safe passage until I reach Judah. And let me have a letter written to Asaph, keeper of the king's forest, so that he will give me timber to rebuild the gates of the temple's fortress, the city wall, and the home where I live." I'm going to say it. All I thought about was Lord of the Rings when I read that. Those trees that were fighting in the forest, remember, in the Return of the King? Yeah, that's all I thought about. I'm sorry, I had to say it. "So that they will give me timber to rebuild the gates of the king's fortress, the city wall, and the home where I live." The king granted my request, for I was graciously strengthened by my God. Wow, so pretty much everything Nehemiah is asking for, he's getting. Mm-hmm. He's getting it. He's like, "Hey, king, by the way, can I get this?" He's like, "Yep." "Oh, can I get this too?" "Yep, you can get that too. I'm going to do that for you." When God calling you to do something and he's telling you to go build something, he will support you.
That's right.
He will put the right people there to give you what you need to do what you need to do. Okay? And I was graciously strengthened by my God. So through God giving him everything he needed, he felt that support, he felt that strength, like, I am ready to go there. I am ready to do what I need to do. I have everything I need. I'm going there and I'm going to go to work. I'm going to do what he's telling me to do. And then it says in number 9, "I went to the governors of the region west of the Euphrates and gave them the king's letters. And the king had also sent officers of the infantry and the cavalry with me." Wow. So this guy's pretty much going with a personal security detail to go to this place. All right? When God calls you and he's telling you to do something, he will provide the necessary security to get there. Nobody is going to stop you. The only person who's going to stop you is you. That's it. But God is going to surround you with what you need. He's going to give you the security you need. He's going to give you the angels you need to do what it is you need to do to get to that place. And then number 10, it says, "When Sanballat the Horonite and Tobiah the Ammonite official heard that someone had come to seek the well-being of the Israelites. They were greatly displeased. So now begins the opposition. This is the first opposition now that Nehemiah is facing with doing what God is telling him to do. So, first things that happen is, someone had come to seek the well-being of the Israelites, and they were greatly displeased. Why? Because of what I said before. You took this from us. They stole this land from us. These are people living in the region. They're like, those are the ones that took it from us. It was really the Lord, again, that gave it to them. But in their minds, no. No. They took it from us. And they knew how powerful they are. So they're also greatly displeased because they're like, man, if they get that wall up, there's no stopping them. They're going to be the Lion of Judah all over again. Because we knew that God was with them, and we've tried and nothing happens because God chose them. And every time we try to attack, it would just fail because God was with them from the beginning. So right now, they're having 70 years of, finally, man, these people are gone. It's in ruins. This is awesome. But when Ezra was building the temple, before Nehemiah got there, opposition was there too. And we're going to keep on going into what it was. But the first opposition they received is they were very displeased. They liked seeing Jerusalem down. They liked not seeing it succeed, and they believed it was their land. When God is calling you to do something, not everybody's going to be pleased with it. People will be displeased with what you are doing. Okay? Now, this doesn't mean that, I'm doing something wrong, where I'm supposed to be. Simply put, people don't want to see you succeed at all. And it's crazy how even in our Christians, brothers and sisters, when we see that God is just taking them and making them fly, we start to get jealous, and we start to look at them like, well, God, why isn't that me? Why are you sending him? Why don't you send me? I do better. I'm better than that. I'm better than him. I'm better than her. Why do you got to send him? What's going on with me? And people start to get displeased. And even people who aren't in the church are going to look at you and say, man, there's just something about them. They're just doing something different. Now they're falling in favor with the boss and stuff. That's what I was wanting, and now they're getting it. People are going to get displeased. They're like, man, they're getting all the spots that I want. They're getting this and that, and people will get displeased with what God is calling you to do. It's like, but you don't understand. You don't understand God is putting me in this position to do something. The reason why you're not in my position is simply because you weren't called for this. You were not called for this position. You have your own position, but you keep looking at my position, so you lose out on your position. You keep focusing on someone else's position, your position is just going to fly right by you. But people don't understand, there's something I need to do, so God's going to put me in a position, he's going to give me all the support I need to do what it is he's calling me to do. So that was the first one. They were displeased. We're going to go to the second opposition. Before we get there, I want to go to number 2. And I want to read at number 18. When he gets there, he looks at it, he looks at the wall and says, yep, this is pretty jacked up. We got a lot of work to do. In the summary, that's pretty much what he said. Not per quote, okay? But that's what he said. Yeah, this is pretty messed up. We got to do a lot of work here. So 18 says, I told them how gracious the hand of God had been on me and what the king had said to me. And they said, let's start rebuilding, and they were encouraged to do this good work. It's crazy because even before he was there, no one, I guess, ever stepped up and say, hey, we should rebuild this wall. Or maybe, I don't know, but no one ever, I guess, came up with it, or no one actually had that thing to say, you know what, we're going to do this. No one had that. So when that doesn't happen, God says, okay, I'm going to send somebody to encourage you so you can start doing what you need to do. All right? And we need those people. Yes. We need those people to come and encourage us to do what God is telling us to do. We need those people to come and say, yes, you can do this. It's been on your mind. Now I'm coming here to confirm it, and we're going to make this happen. What's been on your heart and what's been on your mind. So when Sanballat the Horonite, Tobiah the Ammonite official, Geshem, we added a third guy now, the Arab, heard about this, they mocked and despised us and said, "What are you doing? Are you rebelling against the king?" I gave them this reply: "The God of heaven is the one who will grant us success. We, his servants, will start building, but you have no share or right or historic claim in Jerusalem." This is the second opposition, mocking. People are going to make fun of me. A lot of people make fun of me, especially in high school. Because I was at the stage where everything was the devil, and it was just funny. I would say it joking around. They'd be like, "Oh, how's the problem?" I was like, "It was the devil. I didn't like it." They're all playing music. I'm just sitting there like, yeah, okay, People are making fun of you. You're going to be weird. You're just going to be weird. It's just going to happen. And so when they come, when the Maya's over here, and then they see, they're like, "Oh man, they're actually going to start doing this work. They're actually going to start doing this thing." And it says that they heard about this. They didn't see it. Someone's telling them this. I don't know who's telling them this. I don't know who the snitch is over there in Jerusalem. But someone's telling these people what's going on. All right? But I feel like God had it that way to tell them, like, there's nothing you can do that's going to stand in front of this, that's going to stand against this. People are going to hear about what you're doing.
That's right.
People are going to hear about it. And some people are going to get mad, and some people are going to get happy. But people aren't going to hear. And we can't control how, at our times before, you can't control how people are going to react to what God is telling you to build up. We can't control that. All right? So, he says, they despised us and said, "What are you doing? Are you rebelling against the king?" If I was in mine, I'd be like, if you only knew, I was like third in command. Like, I'm pretty close with the king. Mm-hmm. He knows what I'm doing. Okay? So anyway, but apparently they didn't know this. All right? And they ask him, what are you doing? Do you think that something is going to happen out of this? Do you really think you're going to succeed at this? Do you really think it's going to work? That's when doubt starts to creep in your mind. Before you even start, you start doubting now because other people are getting in your ear and saying, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" That's what I got. What are you doing? Why are you doing this? What for? Why now? Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know I picked my time. It's because God said so? I don't know. This isn't what I want to hear. Mm-hmm. And I don't need to hear this. I don't. So if you're not going to come and encourage me and support what God is calling me to do, I don't need you. I don't need you to speak to me. I don't need that stuff. And there's going to be these people in your life. They're going to hear about what you're doing and say, "What are you doing? You really think you're going to look like that? You really think you're going to achieve that? You really think you're going to, well, I'm never going to know if I don't lay down the first brick," right? So even before this first brick is being laid down, I'm getting all this opposition. Now let me tell you, it's not just people, man. This is the enemy.
That's right.
The enemy does not want you to do what God is telling you to build up because he knows what's going to happen. He's about to build protection. And I've already had, when God shut it down, I had my way. I had my way when it was destroyed, right? Mm-hmm. I was there for a bit, but now they're going to come back and build this wall. I'm not going to have the same access I had to their lives beforehand. So I'm mad. I'm angry. So I'm going to send everything I can for this not to happen. I will try to discourage you. And he just says, "The God of heaven is the one who will grant us success. We, his servants, will start building. But you have no share, right, or historic claim in Jerusalem." What did I tell you about that mindset? They thought, this is ours. Jerusalem is ours. It's not yours. Mm-hmm. You took it away from us. And he says, no. You have no share. You have no right or historic claim here in Jerusalem. If only we would tell the enemy this when he would come and attack us, try to infiltrate my wall. You have no share, right, or historic claim to my life. You have none. The Lord already broke that down. You have no share or right here. So I will not let you enter into what God is telling you to do for you to mess it up. I'm not going to let the lies get in my head to try and discourage me and not do anything because there's so much work to do. And yes, there is. There's a lot of work to do out there. There's a lot of people that don't know Christ. There's a lot of people that are suffering and just waiting for someone to introduce Christ to them. Mm-hmm. And sometimes that bothers me because I'm like, well, God, am I just like ignoring it, or am I doing it? Like, I don't know. You know? But there's people out there that are hungry and they're just like, man, if someone would only introduce me to them or something, I don't know. Mm-hmm. You know? There's people out there. There's a lot of work to do.
Yes.
So with that said, now he was trying to put him against the king. He was now trying to create drama. He was trying to create rumors. Oh, what are you doing? You're going against the king? What? Who here has had a rumor spread about them? That is not true. That's the thing with rumors. They're not true.
That's right.
All right? But people are going to make stuff up. They're going to make up their own scenario in their head on why something happened or this or that. And they're going to put words in your mouth. And they're going to have their own story and their own thing of what happened when it's not true. So that's what these people are trying to do now. We're like, oh, well, we're going to go tell the king that you're trying to rebel against him and this and that. And you can tell him, but again, we're tight. So he's going to be like, no, that's not Nehemiah. That's not what he does. And it's funny because people will come to you to try to tell you to be like, no, that doesn't really sound like him. That doesn't really sound like her. It's something they would do. So no, I don't believe you. Okay? So we go to opposition number 3. We'll go to chapter 4. 1 through 11. When Sanballat heard that we were rebuilding the wall, he became furious. So now work is actually starting on the wall. Before they built the gates and stuff, now we're actually getting to work on the wall. So this guy now gets furious that bricks are now being laid down. Now we're really mad. Oh man, he actually started? I was trying to get him not to start. Now he is starting. They were rebuilding the wall and became furious, and he mocked the Jews before his colleagues and the powerful men of Samaria and said, what are these pathetic Jews doing? Can they restore it by themselves? Will they offer sacrifices? Will they ever finish it? Can they bring these burnt stones back to life from the mounds of rubble? Then Tobiah the Ammonite, who was beside him, said, indeed, even a fox climbs up what they were building, he would break down their stone wall. So now what? You're in too deep. This is the third opposition. There's too much to do. Don't you see the mess? You can't clean this up. Think about how long it's going to take you to clean up all these burnt stones, as in they have no more use. Nehemiah, you can't get this done, man. This is crazy. But we come with that same attitude sometimes to God and say, he can't possibly clean this up. I'm in too deep. You don't understand. And you can tell me, like, Sam, you don't understand. I'm in too deep. There's no getting out of where I am. There is no hope for me. You don't know what I've done. You don't know where I am. There's no coming back from where I have been. There's no coming back from where I've done. There's no coming back from what happened to me. And the thing is, you still hold on to that, thinking I'm under like all this mounds of rubble and there's just no way to get out. And that's what they're telling Nehemiah now. You are in so over your head. You do not have the proper workers. You don't have the proper actually get this done. And that's what people are going to tell you. You don't have the certain qualifications to build this. You don't have the certain finances to do what God is telling you to do. You don't have this. You don't have that. You don't have this. You're going to hear it all. You should have this. You should have that. You should. Okay. I'm going to be led by God. No. And since God is the one who's telling me to build this, that is the one that I'm listening to, not you. But then it says in 4, listen, our God, for we are despised. Make their insults return on their own heads, and let them be taken as plunder to a land of captivity. Do not cover their guilt or their sin to be erased from your sight, because they have provoked the builders. So now, as we keep on going, the opposition just starts getting worse and worse and worse. So 4:6 says, so we rebuilt the wall until the entire wall was joined together up to half its height, for the people had the will to keep working. Good. Even though all this stuff is being said, because it's just words, I'm still motivated. I'm good. Why? Because Nehemiah is motivated. We're looking at him. And you have to understand, Nehemiah was with the Persian king while he's building his empire. So he knows a thing or two about construction. He knows a thing or two about how to be pretty much in charge and all that. He knew what he was doing. That's why God put him there. Since he was young, he watched and this and that, put him close to the king, because eventually the time is going to come where you're going to come do this. And this is what he was doing. So now the wall is built half to its height. All right? So as we keep on going, the same people heard that the repair to the walls of Jerusalem was progressing and that gaps were being closed. They became furious. We have gaps. There's holes. And people are going to ask you when, they're like, oh, what, you think you're all holy now? Like, what are you doing? You think you're like a saint or something? You're like super Christian? You're like a Bible thumper? Is that what you are? Yeah? Is that what you are? Just beating this army? You know? That's what people are going to say when they start seeing gaps being filled. They're going to be like, oh, what about what you did, last year? And it's been filled. Oh, what about what you said 2 weeks? It's been filled. Those are holes that I had in me that God filled. They were gaps. See, God had to destroy my wall and rebuild it with no gaps in between. And since we have these things in us that we feel like they're just terrible, they're just too bad, I don't even want to talk about it, I don't even want God to see it, and those are the things that hold you back from getting further, you need to allow Him to fill those gaps with Him. So wherever you feel that need is, or that hole is, or that sin that just, I just can't get over this, man. Every time I try, it just keeps coming back, and I just fall into it over and over and over again. You have to ask Him, God, I need you to fill this gap. This gap needs to be filled because I can't go further if it's not. And the gaps were being closed, and they became furious. Wow, God is really like doing something with them. And when I think about it now, it's just it amazes me that someone would get angry at this, at what you're doing for the Lord. People actually, there's people out there that get mad. And essentially here, it's the enemy that just gets more furious and furious and furious. He's going to send anyone he can to get in the way of this. And they all plotted together to come and fight against Jerusalem and throw it into confusion. Ooh, what does confusion do? It makes you question. Was this really him? Was it really me? I don't know. You become confused. So we prayed to our God and stationed a guard beside them day and night. So now we want to kill them. All right, so we can't get in their heads, so now we're just going to kill them. That's what we're going to do. All right, that's where we've gotten to at this point now. We're just going to kill them. Okay. So as they're doing this, the strength of the laborer fails since there is so much rubble. We will never be able to rebuild the wall. Now he's gotten to the workers. They're like, look, if they're going to be attacking us while we're doing this, we ain't doing this. It ain't worth my life. The wall can stay unbuilt. I don't care. It is what it is. I'm not going to die over this. I'm not doing that. And then our enemy said they won't know or see anything until they were among them and kill them and stop the work. When the Jews who lived nearby, they said to us time and time again, everywhere you turn, they attack us. So I stationed people behind the lowest sections of the wall at the vulnerable areas, and I stationed them, my families, with their swords, spears, and bows. After I made an inspection, I stood up and said to the nobles, the officials, and the rest of the people, don't be afraid of them. Remember the great and awe-inspiring Lord. You will fight for your countrymen, your sons, and your daughters, and your wives, and your homes. Again, all I thought about was Lord of the Rings. Because that's something like, he would say before they go to battle, fight for your countrymen, your daughters, your sons. And it's like, man, I want to fight now too. Like, let's do this, So Nehemiah knew they were afraid, so he knew, okay, I need to do this strategically. I'm going to set them up with their family. Because you're willing to fight for your family if some enemy comes. So he's like, I'm going to set them up with their family members, and I'm going to put them in those places because I know that when the enemy comes, they're willing to fight for them. I think everyone here would agree you will fight for your family. Right? Exactly. We would all do that. So with all that, they were all working now with the wall, with the swords, with their weapons, with their bows and their spears. They were all ready. They were all ready to go. When the enemy comes, we're ready to fight. And sometimes you do have to fight for what God is calling you to do. You do have to fight in that area, in that space of we're starting to build walls now, and the opposition is getting stronger and stronger and stronger. Now God is like, you can pull out your sword now. I know it's been away, it hasn't been out, but now you could actually pull it out and actually fight for what I'm telling you to do. And don't worry, I will be behind you. Because there will be a time where you actually have to tell yourself, I am still going to proceed with this. I am not going to let this stop me. I will keep on going. I will not sit here and just let the calling of the Lord pass me by. I'm going to proceed with this. I'm going to keep walking in this. I'm going to keep on going. I will pull out my sword and fight if I have to.
Yeah.
But there are people, there are Christians that are getting run over because they don't fight. They're getting run over because they want to make everybody happy and they want to make everybody joy. And with that said, now they're getting run over because they're not willing to fight for what the word stands for. And that's what's going to happen when you don't speak the actual truth and you try to tiptoe around the word and try to make everyone happy. It's not going to work. You are not going to make everyone happy. This word does not make everybody happy.
That's right.
It doesn't even make me happy all the time. I'm like, I got to do what? That goes directly against my flesh. Lord, don't you understand this?
Amen.
Everything you're saying goes against my flesh. And that's why the word says the battle's against the flesh and the principalities of this world. So everything you say here convicts me. Everything you do here, God, it like you're asking for so much change. And then you look at it and you're just like, God, this is so much change, man, I'm not even going to start. Kind of like this wall. I feel like there's so much to do. I'm not even going to start with this, man, because I see like where Sam is at, and I see where John's at, and and I just, for me to get there, that's just going to take too long. I'm not even going to start. That's just dumb. I'm not going to do that. That takes too much work. I don't want to do that. And that's the lies that are put in your head.
Amen.
If you only knew all it starts was receiving the love of God, and you just see how this just progresses to the point where now you're in a position to do something for the Lord. You are now put in a position to where now you are about to enter into your purpose. But the enemy likes to intimidate you and say, you are too screwed up to even start. You are too messed up to even accept the Lord as your Christ and Savior. You're too messed up. This wall is too much of a mess. You cannot rebuild your life. You can't rebuild this. Those are the lies that are told to us. Now we're going to go to chapter 6. I'm almost done. So at this point, it's being finished. The wall is being finished. And the same people, I'm not even going to say their names again, because they're weird names and I just don't feel like saying them again. But it's the same people we've been talking about this whole time that don't go anywhere. Okay? That person just bothering you and bothering you and bothering you. You just got to learn how to deal with them. Alright? And the rest of their enemies, so there was more, it wasn't just them, now there's more, heard that I had rebuilt the wall and that no gap was left in it. Though at that time I had not installed the doors and the gates, Samuel and Jessamine sent me a message, come, let's meet together in the villages of the Ono Valley, but they were planning to harm me. So I sent messengers to them saying, I'm doing a great work and cannot come down. Why should the work cease while I leave it and go down to you? 4 times they sent me the same proposal and I gave them the same reply. See, right now, what they're trying to do is they were trying to kill Nehemiah. They're trying to lure him in. Oh, come on, let's just talk, man. We didn't really need all that. Come on, man, just come over, you know. And as I'm not going to read it, but as they kept reading, a friend of Nehemiah's then eventually says, hey, why don't you come to the temple and talk? You know, let's just talk over here. I haven't seen you. And Nehemiah already knew, no. They paid him to go tell me this and lure me in so they could kill me. But since he knew this, he's like, I'm not going to that either. Even the person close to him, for some money, which we've seen that before, was willing to get this guy killed. Somebody close. And I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, all the people close to you are out to get you. And no, that's not the case. All right? I really don't feel that. Like, it's true. It does happen for people who have experienced that. But me, I mean, I don't have that many people that are super close to me, so I'm like, they're here for my best interest. I haven't really sensed anything. They haven't done anything yet. So who knows? It might change. I don't know. But and it's happened to people. That's why I say it. But I'm not here to tell you like, oh, everything's close to you is out to harm you and this and that. No, that's not the case. It does happen, but no. But look at all this that Nehemiah has to go through just to build this wall that God commanded him to do. All right? So finally it was completed, and it was completed in a record 52 days. All right? And then if you go to 15, the wall was completed in 52 days, chapter 6, 15, 52 days on the 25th day of the month, Elul, when all our enemies heard this, all the surrounding nations were intimidated and lost their confidence, for they realized that the task had been accomplished by our God. So now that it's finished, now they're scared. Because they know what comes from that being completed. We don't have direct access there anymore. Now the Word of God is surrounding them. And that's what this wall really is. And it's the same wall that you should start building too. It's the Word of the Lord and building it around your life. And in that aspect, it's not just building it, but applying it. Because now that the Word is around your life, now anything that comes to you has to go through the Word first. Anything that tries to enter your life, okay, now it has to go through the Word of God first before it gets to me. So you have to realize whatever happens in my life, God allowed it because it had to go through Him first. It had to go through His Word first. Whatever the enemy wants to do to me, he needs to go ask God permission first. Hey, is it okay if I put the sickness on him? And God is the one who says yes or no. Because the same thing happened with Job. The enemy was what? Roaming the earth. Looking for somebody. And he goes, oh, have you seen Job? Yeah, he really worships you, man. He really, believes in you. But he won't do it if I did this to him. And God what? Said, okay. And I bet you he will. And he ended up doing that. So whatever happens to me needs to go through God.
That's right.
Because I already built that Word of God, that Word around my life. It is surrounding my heart, it's surrounding my mind, so everything now needs to filter through that. And the gaps were filled, the job was completed, and it was all accomplished by who? It was accomplished by God. Because people are going to see you. You're going to be the face. And they're going to give you all these praises, and they're going to give you all this stuff. But what do you have to do? You have to say, don't look at me. You have to look at the God who sent me. That's how people get big-headed. That's how people, especially in this commercialized Christianity, it's always bigger, 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 bigger. Beat them, beat them, beat them, beat them, beat them. We need more people, need more people, need more people for what, though? So you can look good? Or more people because people are actually being saved. People are actually hungry for the Word of God. And that's what happens. You start now looking at yourself like, is it me? Or is it God? And I pray to God every single day, no matter what, Lord, I always want to point to you. Don't let them look at me. Let them look at the God who sent me. I'm nothing. I'm just skin and bones. That's it. There's no difference between me and you. I'm just somebody that said yes. That when God called my name, and said, this is what I want you to do, I said, yes. Not knowing what was gonna happen, not knowing where I would be, not knowing that you guys would be sitting in my living room someday. I didn't know. I didn't know any of this. I didn't even know you. I mean, I know them for a while, but you, I don't know you. Look where you are, I don't know. I just say yes. And that's it. I don't know what the result of my yes is going to be.
That's right.
I know the picture. There's a picture, there's a vision, but I don't get so fixated on it. I like to pay attention now, and I don't want to get so fixated on it that I miss the small details to get there, to get to the vision, in the process of it. And you have to realize the whole process that Nehemiah went through building this wall is what formed him. It is that process that's going to make you who you are. Because then you look back and you're like, wow, I went through all that. And look what was completed, look what was done, and I went through all this to eventually get to this point.
Mm-hmm.
You have to enjoy the journey.
Mm-hmm.
You have to. Don't despise it. Don't say, oh, it's going too slow. Oh, it's going too this. Sometimes I'm like, I was telling her, I'm like, I'm just so far, I'm like over here thinking about retirement and stuff, like, I gotta put my money into my retirement. Blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, just enjoy the journey. You have a while. You are 28 years old.
That's right.
You are not 45. You are 28. You have time.
Mm-hmm.
Enjoy the journey. I'm already looking forward, like, man, I can't wait till my kids are like in high school and they get their jobs and they're out. It's like, don't focus on it. Focus on the small details to get them to that point.
That's right.
Because if you don't focus on the small details, they're going to end up staying with you. So focus on those details to get them to where they need to be. And don't get so fixated on that big, giant vision and picture that you have. And there's nothing wrong with having that picture. But you have to enjoy the journey of getting there. I'm sorry, Lord of the Rings, it just popped in my head again. I apologize. I'm sorry. Let us stand up and pray.